had never had an interest or an intention necessarily in studying the Quran, let alone memorizing, let alone tajweed, or all these words that I knew nothing about, ijazah, tajweed. I didn't know any of these words. And I knew that my own recitation was very slow and kind of weak. How was I going to ever accomplish this? And then on top of it all, to go to Syria. I'm not Syrian. People always think I'm Syrian. Allah bless you all. Alhamdulillah, but I'm not actually Syrian. So it was a very big deal for my parents to many of us that were raised in households in which the Quran was often recited. We saw our parents, grandparents recite the Quran. You don't realize how much this is such an important moment in your life until kind of really you take on the journey yourself. And for me, that happened somewhere in my middle school years. My parents moved. This is in honor of the Miftah brothers. I came from Michigan. Moved from the East Coast where I had grown up to Michigan. And when we moved there, we didn't know anybody. My parents, it was the summertime, right before my 8th grade year, and my parents said, there is a girls' camp happening in the masjid. Would you like to attend? I said, sure. And got to meet some friends for the first time. And they were talking about a group of girls that had gone to study the Quran. And I thought, okay, Yani, that's nice. And just carried on with the camp until the very last day of this camp. All these girls returned back from their studies, and they had gone to Syria. This is before the war, of course. And there was all this buzz and excitement in the air about the girls who were returning. And they're all roughly my age, somewhere in that middle school, high school kind of age group. And they said, we're going to throw a party for them. And if you know anything about the Syrians, they love to throw parties for everything, mashallah. And so they said this was going to be a party on behalf of their journey of the Quran. And I thought, oh, interesting. I've never been to a Quran party. All right, let's see what this is about. And so they decorated the whole place. Everyone's so excited. And I'm kind of curious. I'm still new to this area. I don't really know what they're talking about. And they kept using a specific word. And this word in Arabic is ijazah. This is their ijazah in the Quran party. And I thought, what is ijazah? Like, I don't even know what this means. It's to colloquial ear, it sounded like, you know, your summertime. Like, I don't know what this word means, vacation time. And eventually these girls come to the party and they're dressed in the most beautiful, they're literally caped and gowned the way you do in a graduation. But it's in white, it was like white satin, all trimmed in gold, and it was just the most beautiful thing. They were caped in these white gowns and then crowned with crowns of flowers, right? And they walked in one by one, and I thought to myself, I feel like I'm seeing like angels. Like, who are these girls coming in one by one, mashallah? And each of them then shared their stories. And in sharing their story, they were sharing how they went to Syria to go study the Quran. And they were American like myself, kind of born and raised, or raised in America, and yet had spent time studying the tajweed of the Quran and or memorizing different forms of ijazah, which turned out to mean a license to teach, a certification in the Quran. That's what the term ended up meaning. And they celebrated these girls, and I remember standing there as right before my 8th grade year, so it must have been about 13 or so, standing there, watching the procession, watching all of this, lots of nasheed, like our munshid who was here earlier, all the feels, all the vibes, right? And I remember having that moment and saying, Ya Allah, please send me where these girls went. Please allow me to have the Quran like them. And I found this dua kind of like overwhelming me, like just coming into my heart, Ya Rabbi, allow me to. And I thought, wow, like 13-year-old me who was into all things East Coast, which I'm not going to list what all those things are, mashallah, had never had an interest or an intention necessarily in studying the Quran, let alone memorizing, let alone tajweed, or all these words that I knew nothing about, ijazah, tajweed. I didn't know any of these words. And I knew that my own recitation was very slow and kind of weak. How was I going to ever accomplish this? And then on top of it all, to go to Syria. I'm not Syrian. People always think I'm Syrian. Allah bless you all. Alhamdulillah, but I'm not actually Syrian. So it was a very big deal for my parents to... This happens every time. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. It was a big deal for my parents to even consider Syria. And now you know. All the stories you're hearing coming out of, alhamdulillah, free Syria. Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. But all the things that my parents feared were real and happened. And so to send their daughter, out of this a 13, 14-year-old, to a land that they've never been to a place where there are all these discussions on people who study Islam, people who memorize the Quran, people, what were they going to do to me? They were terrified. And to overcome that burden, and so I'll take a very long story and shorten it here just to say, it would be a year, 1 year, subhanAllah, I'd actually find myself in Syria. And I remember arriving to the dormitory, the girls' dormitory, where we were going to study the Quran and study Islam in general. And I remember the door opens, and the Anisa, or the teacher who's going to, our mushrifa, the one who's going to look after us, welcomes us in, gives a salam, asks us to put down our luggage, and the very first thing that she does is hand me a mushaf. She hands me a Quran and she says, listen, there are many things you're going to study of Islam and Sharia here while you're with us studying, but the key to any ilm of Islam and to anything related to this deen of Islam or any da'wah or work you wish to do is the Quran. You cannot access Islam or be able to ascend any further without the Quran. This is your key, and this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make it happen for you. Everything that comes after this is nur, this is light, and if you wish to imbibe the light of Allah and the light of Islam, it comes through the Quran. And without it, everything else is falsehood. So make your intention right here, right now, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you this Quran. And I think that's the moment. That's that moment right there as she hands that mushaf that I felt like, Bismillah. It would take a long time. It would take a journey. It's a journey that we keep on going through, subhanAllah. And some of you know that, alhamdulillah, it'd be about a year and a half now I completed the Ashar Qira'at, alhamdulillah. We had our own ijazah party here at the masjid, mashallah, when that happened, and I hope it's an inspiration to all the women to come. But it's been years and years of a journey, but it started with that handing the mushaf and saying, Bismillah.